First I want to start out with something. So Dave Lamont, you guys all know, he was actually one of our first advisors at Clearspring, and he reminded me of something which is interesting. And it also reminded me, don't always listen to your professors. So Dave actually, as our advisor for Clearspring and shareholder, advised me not to start the company. So thank you, Dave. I appreciate that. So anyway, good afternoon, welcome. This is an amazing time for all of you guys. I remember it fondly. I was probably in a more groggy state than most of you guys. I think I just barely finished my thesis and was turning it in. So congratulations on those of you who don't look as droopy-eyed as I did. So I'd like to start out with thanks. So first, I'd like to thank Carnegie Mellon, the Information Networking Institute, Dean Kozla, Dina, the faculty, the staff, the administration for having me here today. I'd also like to thank my parents and my family who actually came down today. They continuously support me through my thousands and thousands of failures. Today I'll give you at least a couple of them. But yeah, get up. Don't get embarrassed. I really appreciated what Dr. Kozla did with respect to parents, and believe me, I wish I could tell you that you're going to need them less. You'll actually need them more as time goes on, so look forward to those moments. But most of all, I'd like to thank all of you, the students as well as your families, for having me here. This is a very, very important day. You only have a couple of these, believe it or not, and you do actually end up remembering it, mostly the feelings of what happens here. And it's a pivotal day for you guys. It's a time of change, and you'll hear this over and over again, but this is truly the end of one phase of your existence, if you will, and the beginning of the next. A huge time of change. So, as an entrepreneur, you learn a lot of lessons. I racked my brain trying to think of all of the lessons that I have learned over time. But I think the one that I wanted to relate to you today is that there is only one constant that I've learned, and that's change. And I think all of you guys have seen that, experienced that. Even in the last 2 years that you've been here, I'm sure you've learned tremendous things, and your attitudes, your perspectives have shifted along the way. I remember sitting on this other side, which was not too long ago, gosh, it was 7 years ago, and a lot has changed since then, right? When I was in school, for example, and I was entering, the internet was a bad thing. It was a dark place. We'd just come off of the dot-com recession, jobs were difficult. It was kind of like Voldemort in Harry Potter. You don't say anything about the internet, you just kind of work around it. So I'm happy to announce that that has changed. The internet is now flourishing, and the web is affecting every one of our lives in every aspect of our lives. So I wanted to share with you a couple stats to just bring it into sharp focus. So when I was in school, and the guys wanted to go out and rent movies, we went to this place called Blockbuster. And we actually had to pick up these plastic cassettes with magnetic tape and then beg, to find the right one, take it back, and then inevitably pay the late rental fees, which I was charged a lot of, and inevitably canceled my account because I had too many. Today, Netflix is now the largest subscription entertainment business, larger even than internet giant Comcast. Blockbuster, which used to rack me for fees, is now filed for bankruptcy. So that's just in that one period. You look at books, they're affected. E-books now constitute 10% of all books purchased. Borders, where I used to go for my books and everything else, declare bankruptcy. And now a third of their stores are being shut down. So what you're seeing over and over again is this change. And things are going faster and faster and faster. So, one thing as I've been watching this whole thing, I've been studying these technology trends, right? And when you look at everything, you think that, you're kind of on top of things. You guys are all, at a preeminent institution. You've studied everything you want to know. But the bad news is it's actually going to get harder and harder to keep up. So everyone here is familiar to some degree with Moore's Law. And Moore's Law is pretty simple. What it states is that every 12 months, processing power doubles. Right? So the implication is that all information-based businesses are subject to exponential change. For those of you guys who aren't geeks out there, and mom and dad, that means really, really fast. So the business is going to keep going faster. Now, traditionally, this is something that only nerds and geeks talked about. our business is going to get faster and faster and faster. But again, remember, the web is everywhere, right? You hold it in your hand on a mobile, you see it on your desktop, it's getting embedded into devices. Every single business is now becoming an information-based business, from healthcare to e-commerce. So that means the entire world is now going to be on this curve. Just to put it into perspective, when you look at it, so one of our investors is from AOL, and we were joking around and talking, and I said, how long did it take you to get your first 30 million users? And he said, well, from the very beginning, I think we started in 1984. So, I don't know, 15 years? 15 years, 30 million users seems like a pretty decent amount. How many of you guys use Facebook? Show of hands. Come on, seriously, everyone uses Facebook. So, recently, when you look at Facebook's numbers, they have 600 million users, and they achieved that feat in 7 years. 7 years. So I think 30 million, 600. And again, it's going to get faster and faster. So this is a daunting challenge here, right? What are we going to do? Everything is changing. It's getting faster. What do we do about it? It's a little bit terrifying. As a person who runs a business, I can tell you it's very terrifying when you have employees and payroll. But there's no intrinsic good or bad about change. And that really is the opportunity. And as an entrepreneur, and all of you guys in some aspects of your lives are going to be entrepreneurs, are going to take risk, I encourage you to look at change as something that simply is. And it is what you make of it. So I have had a lot of experiences with change. I was the fortunate recipient of 2 recessions in my entire short career. So when I first got out of undergraduate school, the world had kind of collapsed. So to say that you wanted to do something on the internet, no dice. Shortly after graduating from the INI, tech was coming back into vogue, and in 2008, same thing happened again. One might look at that and say, wow, that change was bad. Turns out for me, that change ended up being very good. So let me share one of those stories with you. So I thought the first crash was pretty bad, by the way. I was at University of Pennsylvania. I was starting a business, or trying to start a business with some of my friends. Sorry, Mom, I didn't tell you about this. So we were racking together dollars and cents, buying servers, and we had this brilliant idea that video was going to go online, and we were going to deliver the first IP-based video service. Pretty good, and now I joke around with the guys who founded YouTube and said I was a little early, but 1999 didn't exactly work out. As it turns out, there was a huge crash, and there are no jobs. It was hard to get into grad school. It was tough. But that was just me as an individual. The second crash was far more pronounced for me because I had a web of people connected to me. I was an employer. So let me give you the story. The year was 2008. We had founded Clearspring in 2004, and in 2006, we got our first round of funding. For those of you that don't remember the climate, MySpace was growing like crazy. It was all about the social web. We were growing as well. We'd grown from 0 to 120 million unique users reached in a year, which was unprecedented. We had people putting money into the company, had raised $30 million over the course of 2 years, had offices all over the United States. When we went to Silicon Valley, people knew who we were. Life was interesting. And the interesting side note is, during the whole dot-com crash and everything else prior, I had actually been applying for every job that I could get. And I really, really wanted an internship at AOL. I mean, I really wanted it. And I didn't get it. I had an undergrad degree, actually I had 2 degrees, and I couldn't get an internship. It turns out that I had the fortune of actually meeting Steve Case, who was the co-founder of AOL, and he had to end up giving us $10 million to work with him, so I said it was the most expensive internship he ever passed on. So anyway, things were very, very good. But as it turns out, 2008 was a very, very pivotal year, a time of change for not just our economy, but the world. I woke up one day, and there was a presentation deck that was going out. So Sequoia, who's a huge venture capital firm, they funded YouTube, Google, Yahoo, had put out this deck, big skull and crossbones on the front. World is ending, right? We're done. All the venture capitalists called all of their different companies, us included. We couldn't see any visibility. Advertisers started pulling all of the revenue away from us. Employees were scared. I mean, we didn't know if the government was going to collapse. By the way, I was 27 at this time. So I looked around. I didn't know what to do. And we had a choice. We had a choice. We either took that change as something that was terrible, or we kept moving. And that was a tough choice, by the way. So our choice was maybe we could try to sell the company. We wouldn't get back the investors any money. And that was a decent option. Or we would keep going. We'd figure it out. But to keep going, we would have to say goodbye to a lot of friends and make a lot of tough decisions. So we ended up deciding to keep going. And we had to cut 20% of our workforce. That was a tough day. Imagine going in 27 years old, you have people who are 50 years old, worked all their lives, and you say, you know what? No one can see what's going on. No one can see what's going next. You have to say goodbye. It was a really hard day for us. But what we figured out in this period was that there is a way to transform this difficult time into something positive. And so all of our publishers that were using our platform, all these online websites, so we had hundreds of thousands of them, had no budget left, right? They couldn't pay us, and that's how we made our money. We charged people for our platform, the ability to connect to these different social networks, analytics, all these tools. And I said, well, why don't we not charge them anymore? My investors were like, are you crazy? What part of the news are you not seeing here? We need money. We don't need to not charge people money. And I said, I think that there's a way to do this a little differently by riding this phenomenon versus fighting it. And so we started giving our platform away for free with a simple thesis. If we gave it away for free, we would get massive reach. And I mean, we had to get massive reach. So we had to go from hundreds of thousands of publishers to millions of sites using us. We had to go from hundreds of millions of users that we saw every day to billion. It was tough. It was tough. And we figured out that that actually was going to work. So as of 2008, we went from 200 million unique users that we saw to over 1 billion. So to put that into context, Yahoo today sees about 600 million. So we're roughly almost double Yahoo at this point. We went from a couple 100,000 publishers to now today 10 million publishers that are using our tools. Thank you. Appreciate it. And perhaps more importantly, we figured out how to drive business from this. And the thesis was simple. We see a lot of data, right? And at the core of it, our company became a data company. So every single day, and again, I'm talking to the nerds out here, we process 10 terabytes of data. For the non-nerds out there, in a week, we process as much data as the entire Library of Congress has. And so we took that data and we built a very lucrative advertising business that now is tripling in revenue this year. But it wasn't easy. And again, looking back, this sounds like one of those stories, that's well written, but it was horrible, it was messy, things were changing. And so what I encourage you guys all to do, when you go out there today, Dr. Kozla told you the world is not perfect, is rather than look at everything, look for the perfect engineered solution, embrace that change. Because every time there's a change, every time there's a recession, every time somebody is losing, there's an opportunity for you to turn that into something bigger. So, I wanted to end with something anecdotal. Well, I guess maybe it's a little bit of an odd story, but there was a professor by the name of Raj Kumar, who's not here, and used to be one of our professors, talking about things change. He was like this, the core, one of the guys that everyone went to. So, a small Indian guy. The guy was like a fireball, man. He could run through walls. Talked really fast. No one understood what he was saying. But we just knew he was really smart, and if we listened a little bit, we would learn these amazing things. And one of my most vivid memories, and one of the things that I'll never forget was we had orientation, and oh gosh, it was 2002, and it was the first day. We were all excited. I mean, I believe Carnegie Mellon, the engineering school, was just ranked #1 for EC at the time. Everyone feeling really good. We expected to get a huge rah-rah speech from this guy. So we all go into the auditorium just like this. Everyone gets quiet, and he comes up on stage. And this guy was terrifying. I mean, we were not getting the speech that we wanted. This is going to be the hardest time in your life. You're not going to sleep. Some of you guys are going to quit. I'm like, what is this? Seriously, on the first day, But what I didn't appreciate was the ending of the story, which I now appreciate now, which is as follows. He said, this is going to be one of the most difficult periods in your life, and we're going to do this to you on purpose. Because when you leave Carnegie Mellon, you will be able to build anything. You will be able to be a warrior. And I didn't understand what that meant. But now, today, having gone through what I went through, going through that downturn, having faced trials that I won't bore you with that are almost as bad as those, I realize the skills that all of you guys have gained. And those skills are invaluable. Carnegie Mellon has prepared you to build anything. And do not take that for granted, because you can really do whatever you want to do. Having that technical background, having the perseverance that they instill you with will arm you. I know it armed me. It helped me take the vision that I had, build that out, but most importantly, it gave me that perseverance to keep going. And so what I'll encourage you all and challenge you all with here is inspired by Spider-Man. So for those of you guys who aren't familiar, Spider-Man was raised by his uncle. And his name is Peter Parker, by the way. So I don't know if you guys knew that. Sorry to ruin it for you. And his uncle would say something that stuck with him. And he said, with great power comes great responsibility. So let me repeat that, because this is huge. With great power comes great responsibility. And right now, all of you guys are armed with that power. And I'm not kidding you, it's a nuclear weapon right now. And because you guys have this education, and because the world is changing so fast, it's more powerful than ever. So just think, when I was in school, the largest social network was Friendster. Who knows what Friendster is now? Anybody? There was only 1 million users on it. 600 million users are on Facebook. How many people in this audience have mobile phones? Right. When I was in school, it was expensive, it was a luxury. I mean, that was only 7 years ago. And so that power to affect change that you've gained is more impactful, can move things faster, all because we are connected. We're in this global society. And so I want to issue a challenge to you. I've been watching these commencement speeches, and I realize I get to do this now, so I'm going to do this for you guys. And the challenge actually, I guess, is not mine to give, but it's a reissuance. Mahatma Gandhi said something pretty profound that's affected me, it has driven me, and I hope it will drive you. And if there's only one thing that you remember out of this whole speech, it's as follows. Be the change that you want to see in the world. You've gotten the skills, you have the perseverance, and the opportunity is there. The internet is making all of you exponentially more valuable. But you have to be the change you want to see in the world. And so I encourage you guys all to enjoy today, rest, get excited, get ready for this adventure. And remember, if at first you don't succeed, call it version 1.0. Thank you.